Today I wanted to talk about grafting in full sun. You know that I love to top work trees, and top working trees that are in the grove presents certain challenges. The main challenge is sun, and those young grafts and of course the scions, before they start to sprout out, are very vulnerable to heat and to full sun. So this particular tree, this is a seedling tree that I grafted a while ago, and it benefited from having shade from this lychee tree. So it was a fairly easy situation to graft under or whatever. This is now sea crest. I have 3 successful grafts, so all the leaves are sea crest. There's another tree over here that is somewhat similar. It's similar in size and very close location-wise. So this is our seedling tree, and I actually tried to graft onto this, and it wasn't successful. And why was that? Well, it was a little bit harsher sunlight, the time of year was worse, and it didn't benefit at all from the lychee tree. It didn't have any shade. I thought it was enough to use side veneer grafts, and it wasn't. It was a bad combination of the time of year, no extra shade, and you know, of course, the seedling tree just being out on its own. You know, there's no water that comes to this except for from the potted plants and such. So I haven't given up on this particular project. I have moved some big trees around to create a gentler environment for it, and I'm still waiting for a little bit gentler sun too. So it's another couple weeks probably I will top work this again. But there's a third seedling tree right over here that I wanted to mention also. This is a miracle fruit tree, and it's growing right next to this other seedling. This volunteered right here, and I have a long-term plan for the miracle fruit tree to be shorter, but right now it's providing some shade for the mango seedling over here. This mango seedling really had some nice branches. I had cut it back and encouraged just 3 branches. This central one, of course, gets the most energy, and so when I had a scion, it happened to be a very short cutting of a sugarloaf tree that the diameter was rather large. I thought, we'll try it on this particular branch. And that was a while ago, and it is doing very well. We've got this is all sugarloaf right there, and a little branch coming out of the side. So that was going pretty darn well. And then I got a couple of scions of Francis Hargrave. So I decided to put those on these lateral branches. So we've got Francis Hargrave sprouting out here and also here. Now, when I'm in this situation where I have successful grafts, but they're not really firmly attached, they're not sort of sturdy enough, I keep leaving leaves on for protection and also to keep this tree active. So I just recently cut off branches, the tops of branches. You can see here that they start to sprout out. When it sprouts out above the graft, it's not that big of a deal, but I don't want the energy of the plant going to this growth that I'm going to cut off anyway. I'd much rather it go to the grafted parts of the tree. So the main thing with this particular tree is that I used like grafts on the interior parts of the tree. I've been cutting it back gradually as the grafts have been growing, but the tree itself is providing quite a bit of shade for those grafts. So that is one strategy, using the tree itself to provide the shade. Of course, we already talked about like this big lychee tree. Before it was cut back, it provided a lot of shade for this area. And then there's a couple other things that you can do. I mentioned moving big plants around a tree that you're working on. That is not always an option because, not many people have a lot of 15 and 25 gallon plants just to move over. But then you can do things like put screening over or move some object temporarily to block the full sun. It's the midday sun that's the worst, from say 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That seems to be the harshest. But there are other things that you can do, a couple other things that are helpful. One is when you put a graft on and it's going to get some sun, you can take a leaf and just, pretend that that's on the outside of the part of the tree. I mean, the interior grafts are much more protected, but if this were not, you could just tie a leaf on. And so as that leaf turns brown, you can easily check on the scion because you know where it is, by the brown leaf. And then when it starts growing, it's much less vulnerable to heat. And the thing that Har uses, he likes to use a lot, is just a plain paper towel. Now, the paper towel is really good at blocking out harsh light. Of course, it lets air through. It's not going to suffocate the graft. And it can get wet and then not dissolve. It just dries up. So if you had a new graft, of course, you don't need to use it once your graft has sprouted out and the leaves have matured. But, you can just wrap it around. He ties that around the graft in a couple places so the wind doesn't blow it off. So it is possible to graft in full sun, topwork trees in full sun, even when the sun is really harsh. I prefer to wait until this time of year. Right now we're in like mid-September. It's just a lot gentler sun now. But if you're really eager to graft in a time of year when the sun is really harsh, try to make the situation as gentle for the grafts as possible. You want to protect those scions and the young growth of your topwork projects.